And welcome again to the online seminar, The Importance of Emotional Intelligence in School. I'm not sure if you are, as me, very curious about what we are going to talk about today. And we have as our speaker today an eTwinning ambassador, Francisco Balsera Gomez. And I will introduce him in a minute. But before that, I would like to tell you that you can express yourself, you can encourage the speaker, you can disagree with the speaker as well. By using these icons, we will pay attention to your reactions and we will try to interact with you as much as possible. You can also use, actually, you are more than welcome to use the chat to post questions, to interact with us. We are not going to open the microphones because we are a lot of participants and it will may cause a lot of noise. So we won't open the microphone until the end, where maybe we will open the floor to raise your hand and then we will open your microphone if you want to participate with a question or a comment. Then, if you have problems with sound, well, maybe you must do what Francisco just did. Come out, go out and come in again, leave the session and come back again. And it solved it. But most important is that you have your icons connected, the speakers and the microphone, and maybe you need to use some headsets. Maybe it's better to improve the sound. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you our guest speaker. As I said, he's an eTwinning teacher, he's an eTwinning ambassador, but he's also Spanish. He was born in Zaragoza, and he has a degree in piano music theory and accompaniment. And in 2006, he earned his PhD in education with a doctoral thesis about emotional intelligence in music. He is also an experienced professional in psychological techniques, including relaxation therapy and cognitive psychotherapy. And he is the academic secretary and teaches piano and emotional intelligence at the Professional Conservatoire of Music in Zaragoza. So he's well familiar with the topic that he's going to talk to us about today. And he's an eTwinning ambassador, as I said, and his research focuses on teaching music, learning styles, and emotional intelligence. He has also recorded 5 CDs, and he also won the second prize in the International Music Competition in '99. And he established the training course for teachers, emotional intelligence and teaching music online. So, Francisco, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today. And with no further ado, I'll put your slides up. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. And hello, good evening to you all, and welcome to this seminar. Can you hear me properly now? Okay, yes? The sound is good? Yes, excellent. So thank you, Ruth. Thank you to the Central Service Support and the National Service Support in Spain for organizing this online seminar about a topic I love. First of all, I want to say that I'm not an expert. I'm just a teacher who loves this topic, emotional intelligence. Actually, I love 2 topics, emotional intelligence and eTwinning, of course. And I think that eTwinning is one of the best ways to develop emotional skills in our students. So the topic of my presentation is emotional intelligence in schools. But I want you to be active in the chat room. So I will ask you some questions and I will do some activities, some tasks in the chat room during this seminar, okay? So are you ready? Okay, excellent. So let's start. First of all, there is a hashtag for this event. It's eTwin_EQ. Okay, so you can write there, ask questions, etc. In this seminar, I'll be developing 4 main points. A short introduction, a brief history and definition of emotional intelligence, we are going to revise the essential components of emotional intelligence and how to implement them in eTwinning projects, and a final consideration, a conclusion of the seminar. And here there is the first question. What makes someone intelligent? What makes a smart person? A student who is very good at mathematics or Spanish language or Greek, it's academic success? Yes, I think that's a kind of intelligence, of course. But being intelligent nowadays is not only that. In these ways, being intelligent can help our students in school. But this kind of intelligence doesn't guarantee success in the future. So, emotions have a huge influence on our lives. In fact, the emotions we feel have a strong impact on our way we interact with others, with people, with our students, with friends, with colleagues. So, I think we should educate our students to deal effectively with their emotions and feelings. Because in the classroom, we can find different students, of course, with different problems. We find students who may suffer from poor self-awareness, for example, or low self-esteem, or they don't know how to express their emotions, or there is lack of motivation. So we need to work emotional intelligence in order to help them to achieve better academic grades. A lot of researchers say that it's necessary to educate not just the mind, but the whole person. And there's a strong link between social emotional learning and academic performance. Emotions and cognitive thought drive the actions we undertake to reach our personal goals. So, as teachers, if we aren't aware of how students feel, we won't be able to relate to them appropriately. And if we understand how we feel and how we react in certain situations, the chances to establish a connection with someone increases thanks to empathy. Let's revise now a brief history of emotional intelligence. Peter Salovey of Harvard University and John Mayer of the University of New Hampshire created the term emotional intelligence in 1990, describing it as a form of social intelligence that involves the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and action. For these psychologists, there are emotional qualities that appear to be important to success. And these qualities are empathy, expressing and understanding feelings, controlling one's temper, independence, adaptability, being well linked, interpersonal problem solving, persistence, friendliness, kindness, and respect. Chris Gollis says that Salovey and Mayer started a research program intended to develop valid measures of emotional intelligence and to explore its significance. And they found in one study that when a group of people saw an upsetting film, those who have the ability to identify and give a name to a mood that is being experienced recovered more quickly. And in another study, people who scored higher in the ability to perceive accurately understand and appraise others' emotions were better able to respond flexibly to changes in their social environments. And in the 1990s, Daniel Goleman, you know him, became aware of Salovey and Mayer's work, and he wrote his book Emotional Intelligence that propelled this concept into public awareness. Goleman, as you know, was a science writer for the New York Times, and he was a specialist in brain and behavior research. And he realized that how little traditional tests of cognitive intelligence told us about what it takes to be successful in life. So Goleman said that it was not cognitive intelligence that guaranteed success in life, but emotional intelligence. And this book, Emotional Intelligence, was first published in 1995, and the book sold 5 million copies in the first 5 years of publication. And Daniel Goleman's theory appeared on the cover of Time magazine too. So the concept of emotional intelligence has importance in the workplace too, as teachers in our schools. Increasing our emotional intelligence at work has a lot of benefits. And here's my first question for you, for the chat. What do you think? What are these benefits? Why is it good for teachers emotional intelligence in schools? Let's see what you think. Maria says, because we can understand better our students. That's true. And we can manage better stress at work too as a teachers. To face problems, yes, Sarta, to establish good communication. We can detect your motivation. Yes. Emotional intelligence is good for teachers and students because it helps us from other competencies and involved. Yes. Okay, excellent. You can write in the chat as I'm. And Howard Gardner, you know how Howard Gardner, this psychologist, suggests that there are different intelligences, as you know, verbal linguistic, naturalistic, visual spatial, interpersonal, intrapersonal, existential, musical, and logical mathematical. Okay? And this intelligence include different kinds of emotional intelligence because interpersonal intelligence and intrapersonal intelligence are linked, are connected, okay? And he describes interpersonal intelligence as the intelligence that allows us to empathize with others, easily with others. And interpersonal intelligence is the area that has to do with introspective and self-reflective capacities. So, if we have high emotional intelligence, we are more in tune with our colleagues at work, and workplaces are more productive. That's the idea. This is a story, maybe you know, the 7 wonders of the world. Do you know the story? Students in school were studying the 7 wonders of the world. At the end of the lesson, the students were asked to list what they considered to be the 7 wonders of the world. Although there was some disagreement, the following received the most votes. Let's have a look. Egypt's Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal in India, the Grand Canyon in Arizona, the Panama Canal, the Empire State Building, St. Peter's Church or Basilica in the Vatican, and China's Great Wall. But while gathering the votes, the teacher noted that one student, a quiet girl, hadn't turned in her paper yet. So she asked the girl if she was having trouble with her list. And the quiet girl said, "Yes, a little. I couldn't quite make up my mind because there were so many wonders of the world." And the teacher said, "Well, tell us what you have written, and maybe we can help." And the girl hesitated and then read, "I think the seven wonders of the world are," see, to touch, to taste, to see, to hear, to feel, to laugh, and to laugh. You can imagine the room was so quiet. Okay? Now, a question for you. Which of the two options is better? The first one, when the children think that Egypt, Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal are the wonders of the world? Or the other point of view? What do you think? The second one, says Dolores, the second one, I'm a bad person, because this is a tricky question. Both of them are good options, both of them, because this is an example of making a decision through reason or heart, and reason and heart aren't opposites. They complement each other, okay? Emotional intelligence skills aren't the opposite of cognitive skills. Both interact dynamically, okay? Excellent. So both options. And here is the definition of emotional intelligence. There are a lot of definitions. This one, I like it. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions and the emotions of others. It also reflects abilities to join intelligence, empathy, and emotions to enhance thought and understanding of interpersonal dynamics. The core areas of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And using emotional intelligence in the classroom is excellent, in my point of view, because we can develop strategies to help our students. Let's have a look now how emotions work in the brain. The cortex is the thinking part of the brain and helps control emotions through problem solving, language, imagery, etc. The limbic system is considered the emotional part of the brain and includes the thalamus, which relays messages to the cortex, the hippocampus, believed to play a role in memory and making sense out of our perceptions, and the amygdala, very, very important, the amygdala, the emotional control center. Dr. Ledoux discovered that certain emotional reactions occur before the brain has even had time to fully register what it is that is causing the reaction. There is a shortcut. It's designed to take immediate defensive action, and it happens unconsciously. Steven Stein remembers that these emotional parts of the brain influence the ways humans or our neocortex function, because it's very important. Having good emotional intelligence involves optimum functioning of our higher and lower brain functions. Okay? Very interesting how our brain works. And now we're going to revise the different emotional aspects, or core aspects of emotional intelligence. And we're going to start with emotional awareness. Most theorists agree that there is a set of basic emotions, love, fear, hate, grief, guilt, and that all other emotions are derived from these basic emotions. Dr. Shapiro says that as humans, we are capable of hundreds of shades of emotions, and it is not our emotions themselves that distinguish us from other animals. It's our ability to recognize and think about them that places us at the top of the evolutionary ladder. So everyone has feelings. Our students have feelings, of course. In fact, people who suffer from alexithymia don't experience feelings. And these people can't identify, understand, or describe their own emotions. So let's do an activity, a task. My emotions. Please think about some of the emotions you have experienced today and write in the chat your ideas. How many different emotions can you recognize? Maybe you got up early in the morning, you had a shower with cold water, happiness, happy, a lot of emotions, of course. A lot of them. Excite, boredom, or happiness. Next, frustration, love. Okay, the thinking part of the brain, the cortex, allows us to have feelings about our feelings and to express these feelings to others. So it's very important to teach our students to understand and communicate their emotions. And to make it happen, it's necessary to build a good emotional vocabulary. This is very important, to create a very good emotional vocabulary, because if our students increase their emotional vocabulary, they can make themselves more clear about their feelings. Okay? In fact, Dr. Shapiro says that in families in which feelings are openly expressed and discussed, children develop the vocabulary to think about and communicate their emotions. And in families in which feelings are suppressed and emotional communication is avoided, children are more likely to be emotionally mute. Yes, Elena, I think in general the vocabulary of our students is reduced. We have to start creating a very good vocabulary. And of course, body language is very, very important. Research has found that words are a small part of emotional communication. Our body language communicates up to 50% of what we want to say. Nonverbal behavior is continuous, and we are always communicating through our body language and facial expressions. Are you good recognizing facial expressions? Can you read facial expressions? This is a challenge. Serena, hello, Serena. Okay, let's see. Can you tell how people are feeling from their expressions? For example, this one, this boy. Let me know. What do you think? Anger. Yes, yes, I agree with you. And can you describe his face, his body? Math, says Petra. Maybe pursed lips, clenched fists, okay? It's clear. And in this one, what's she or he feeling? What do you think? Surprised, yes. Eyebrows go up, eyes widen, mouth opens, okay? Yes, curious, haha. And this one, yes, really sad, no sadness, teary eyes, etc. Okay? And this one, this couple or friends, happy, yes, happiness, smile, relaxed bodies, open arms. And I think I have one example. This is the last one. And this one, what do you think? Oh my God. Yes, for me, this is embarrassed. For me, look away from others, avoid direct contact. Oh my God. Okay. So we must help our students develop the ability to understand the subtle differences of emotional communication by teaching them to read the nonverbal language of emotions. And now we're going to use self-awareness in education and in eTwinning. Okay? Self-awareness is, as you know, the essential component of emotional intelligence. It's the starting point for other emotional skills. Feeling and emotion is not the same as being aware of what I'm feeling. Okay? And the characteristics of self-awareness are having the ability and awareness to recognize our own emotions and knowing our own strengths and weaknesses and limitations. Okay? But a very important thing, self-awareness needs emotional literacy. We can educate, we can learn self-awareness, okay? Yes, Ruth, it's extremely important. I agree with you, totally agree. Here there are several strategies by Singh Gill. He says it's very important to recognize your strengths and limitations, set appropriate targets that are measurable and achievable, replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts and feelings, write an emotional journal. I do it with my students. It's very important because they reflect on their emotions. A blog, for example. And of course, for teachers, practice your lessons in advance. It's very, very important. But I have now a question for you again. What are the qualities of an emotionally intelligent teacher? What do you think? Empathy, yes. Here, listen carefully, patient. Okay, let's have a look. The idea of Alan Mortiboy's. Look, in this slide, there are different colors because the first one, the yellow ones, relate to subject knowledge. Subject knowledge. A teacher must be an expert, knowledgeable, resourceful, up to date, can answer any questions on the topic, okay? But there are skills as a teacher, the green ones, well organized, challenging activities, clear speaking, manages time well, and of course, emotional intelligence abilities. Good listener, empathy, positive, approachable, makes eye contact, etc. Okay? And now, of course, this is only a short introduction, ideas about activities, but I'm sure you have more ideas to implement activities in eTwinning. Of course, as I said, it's very important to create a good vocabulary about emotions. For example, I think we could create with our students word clouds with words about us, about their personality. For example, there is one of my word clouds. I'm a music teacher and things I love. Art, family, reading, gym, English, or the one not very good at it, cycling, cinema, etc. eTwinning, of course. And a self-awareness activity about the development of our students' emotional intelligence, we could do it with Google Forms. So our students answer the questionnaire and reflect on the results. And they can share their ideas in a Padlet, for example. Or in the introduction of the project, they could record a short video in Flipgrid saying what they like, their hobbies, and very, very important, how they feel about the project. We should introduce emotions consciously in our eTwinning projects. We could organize an online Kahoot contest. They love it, you know. For example, they have to recognize emotions in different faces and body language, as we did previously. And I think it's an interesting idea to create an emotional collaborative diary in a blog where students express their emotions every day, no? Or every now and again. Okay, let's have a look now to self-regulation. Self-regulation, which is the ability to control our emotions, and it's very important when we talk about human interactions, of course. We need to teach the ability to regulate emotions, and it's necessary to maintain a balanced mind. And to help students with emotional control, we must provide emotion-based solutions to emotional problems. Okay, we must teach the emotional brain as well as the thinking brain. So I have now another story, the story of the two monks. Do you know this story? We're going to comment the story, okay? Ah, great, I love it. Okay, so in ancient times, it was customary for a traveling monk seeking lodging at a Zen monastery to engage in Dharma combat with the abbot or head monk. If the wayfarer won the debate, he could stay. If not, he had to seek quarters elsewhere. Once, a master assigned his attendant to engage in such an encounter with a traveling monk, who challenged him to a silent debate. It so happened that this attendant had but one eye. Soon the wayfarer returned to the master, saying, "Your man is too good for me. I must journey on. I held up one finger to symbolize the Buddha, but he held up two fingers for the Buddha and the Dharma." So I held up three fingers for the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But then he held up a clenched fist to indicate they were all one. So I ran to indicate I'm no match for him. When the traveler who spoke these words left, the attendant arrived, angry and out of breath. "What is that rascal?" he demanded. First, he insulted me by holding up one finger to indicate I had only one eye. Determined to be polite in spite of that, I held up two fingers to indicate that, on the other hand, he was blessed with two eyes. But he just kept rubbing it in, for next he held up three fingers to indicate that altogether there were only three eyes among us. So I went to hit him and he ran off. What is he hiding? So, what does this story suggest? What are your conclusions? I can send the story to Ruth at the end of the seminar. Don't misunderstanding, yes. Yes, we interpret things differently. Yes, that's true. It is very important the way we interpret the events that have taken place. Okay? We need to change our mind because I think, therefore I feel. And the thoughts we think lead to the feelings we experience. Okay? So, how can we change negative thoughts? How can we change negative thoughts? There are a lot of techniques. One of them is cognitive restructuring. And we use cognitive restructuring to overcome negative thinking. It's a useful technique. I use this technique with my students, with my piano students, to dealing with negative feelings. I'm a bad pianist, the concert is awful, etc. It's a cognitive behavior therapy that involves learning how to think differently in a positive way. And Dr. Ellis was the psychologist who began this therapy. According to this theory, our unrealistic thoughts cause our negative emotions, which affect our behavior negatively. Okay, so the technique helps us think about a problem in a different way and change our emotions. To use this technique, cognitive restructuring, we should follow these steps. First of all, calm yourself, identify the situation in which you experience negative emotions, analyze your mood, and identify your automatic thoughts about the situation. Find objective supportive evidence, so write evidence that supports the thoughts. Find objective evidence that doesn't support the thoughts. Identify balanced thoughts, so thoughts that after you look at the supporting and non-supporting thoughts, get you to a more fair and balanced place. And think about the new feelings that you experience with the new situation. Here there is an example, okay? Yes, it's difficult and experience is necessary. So imagine, for example, that some friends have organized a trip to the Caribbean Sea. Okay, one of your best friends, but you weren't invited. You weren't invited to go to the Caribbean Sea. Okay, so think about the negative thoughts. For example, please write a negative thought you think. Maybe my friends don't like me. Maybe I'm a really boring person. Okay? So feelings, was I'm sad, alone, stressed. What's the evidence that support the thought? Yes, I'm a little bit stubborn. But what's the evidence that doesn't support the thought? Well, my friends said that I'm really very fun, and other friends have not been invited to other activities, so there's no problem. And the alternative thought, my friends like me, but doesn't mean that they have to invite me to everything. With this new thought, I feel happier. There is no stress. Okay? And another technique that I use with my students is very practical. I love it. Is progressive relaxation. Do you know progressive relaxation? No, Elena? For musicians, it's interesting. Okay? There are a lot of physical activities and mental activities to become more relaxed. Okay? Steven Stein says that the best way to use these techniques is to make them part of our everyday routine. Okay? Stress, of course, is good for the body as it enables focus and direction. Okay? But too much stress can lead to mental and physical issues that can spiral out of control. Okay? The progressive relaxation is a method originated by Jacobson. And personally, I think it's a good source to reduce general anxiety. To begin, you need a quiet area and follow different exercises. In progressive muscle relaxation, you tense a group of muscles and you relax them immediately. Okay? And you work on your muscle groups in a certain order. Okay? In YouTube, you will find a lot of audio recordings about this method. And if you want, another day we can do a practice, okay, with progressive relaxation via online. For example, an exercise: close your hands tightly to feel the tension. Close your hands. Hold for 5 seconds and slowly release. Okay? And feel the tension and the relax. Or press your lips tightly together and hold for 5 seconds. Feel the tension and slowly release. Okay, this is the idea of this activity, this technique. Okay. I love work with my youngest students this activity and belly breathing. In belly breathing, you breathe through your diaphragm, okay, which is located down in the stomach area. So there is a song for children. Here's the link, okay, a song to teach them how to use this technique, the belly breathing technique, okay? It's very easy. And some eTwinning activities or ideas, okay? Students could record a non-verbal video about a scene about anxiety or stress, and the other group have to guess what is happening in the scene. And we could do the same, asking students to record a video with the physical things that their bodies and voices do when they suffer from stress. For example, shaking body, stomach ache, headache, shaky voice, etc. Students complete in a Padlet this sentence: I'm anxious when. And we could organize an online meeting in which students work together in order to solve a conflict and create a collaborative mind map to find the solution with Mindomo, Wise Mapping, or Google. Google is my favorite. Because when students work or have to solve a conflict, they have to negotiate, they have to solve the problem. Okay, it's very interesting, I think. I'm sure you have a lot of ideas. About self-motivation. Are you tired? Okay, then. Self-motivation. Okay, a motive is an impulse that causes a person to act. And self-motivated people have the desire and will to face obstacles and overcome them. But one cause of lack of motivation is learned helplessness, when behavior doesn't control outcomes. It's a mental state that occurs when the person induces repeatedly painful or otherwise aversive stimuli which is unable to escape or avoid. Students who experience repeated school failure are prone to develop learned helplessness. Okay, for example, it's very typical for these students think no matter how hard I study for this test, because I always get a bad grade. So they create a learned helplessness. But we learn this learned helplessness so we can unlearn it. And our goals must be specific. That means describe your goal in precise terms. Measurable, we can measure our progress. Achievable, ask you this question: do I have enough control of this to make it happen? Realistic, that is relevant. And time, determine a date for your goal. Okay? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, says that the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. Okay? This state is called flow, and it's an important contributor to creativity and well-being. And Csikszentmihalyi describes 8 characteristics of flow, 8 elements of flow. Complete concentration on the task, clarity of goals, and rewarding mind and immediate feedback. Goals are clear. Transformation of time. Okay, the sense of time is altered. The experience is intrinsically rewarding. Effortlessness and ease. There's a balance between challenge and skills. And actions and awareness are merged, losing self-conscious rumination. And there is a feeling of control over the task. I'm sure you have experienced this flow a lot of times. So, a question. How can you increase your students' motivation quickly? Tell me, write in the chat. Making them laugh, praising them, singing. I love it. I'm a musician, of course. Games. Okay. My answer. How can you increase your students' motivation quickly? With eTwinning projects. With eTwinning projects, of course. The first one idea. Okay. Let's have a look to some ideas by Bryant and Smith in a book teaching students with special needs in inclusive classrooms. Okay, they say encourage interaction among students, make your classes relevant, be expressive and smile, encourage students to share their ideas, use different instructional strategies, be sure students know what they are expected to learn. Okay, some ideas. And it's very important to know how to do a constructive criticism. Martin Seligman says that we must consider how we criticize our students. And he points out that there are right and wrong ways to criticize. The first rule is criticizing our students is to be accurate. And secondly, we must develop an optimistic explanatory style. That is, explain problems in realistic terms. Okay? Because optimism comes from realistic thinking. And children learn most readily by observing what their teachers do and say. So teachers should be more optimistic in the ways that they relate to their students. Okay? Some activities or some ideas I have implemented in my projects. For example, in general, eTwinning activities are intrinsically motivating, of course. In ice-breaking activities, I think there is a classical activity in eTwinning where students create the project logo. Okay? I think it's a classical competition and they love it in general. And students love online games. In the learning event about emotional intelligence, Angeliki and Rania show different resources. I remember that marvelous learning event. Kahoot, for example, Jigsaw Planet for creating puzzles or learning apps. A friend of mine, another eTwinner, Mari Carmen Montoya, showed me learning apps a few months ago, and I think it's marvelous. It's a very nice website that allows you to create different games. Okay? And the final part of this seminar, empathy and social skills. Empathy is the ability to share another person's feelings and emotions as if they were your own, of course. And it's often characterized as the ability to put oneself into another's shoes, The word empathy is derived from the ancient Greek word empatheia, that means feeling into. Okay? Sapiro says that there are two components to empathy: an emotional reaction towards others, which normally develops in the first 6 years of a child's life, and a cognitive reaction, which determines the degree to which older children are able to see the point of view of someone else. First, there is a global empathy. For example, when babies turn to watch another child who is crying, what happens? They will frequently start to cry as well. Okay? So this is a global empathy. It's not empathy. Between the ages of 1 and 2, children enter a second stage of empathy, and they can clearly see that another person's distress is not their own. And Sapiro says that the age of 6 is the beginning of the stage of cognitive empathy, that is, the ability to see things from another person's perspective and act accordingly. So empathy is the basis of all social skills, and those emotional intelligence skills that involve our students' relationships with others can only effectively be taught to the emotional brain. So this is the reason why I think eTwinning projects are the best way to develop empathy, because the students need to listen to their classmates and observe them. Pygmalion. Do you know the Pygmalion effect? The myth of Pygmalion? Pygmalion in Ovid's Metamorphoses, Book 10, was a sculptor who fell in love with an ivory statue he had carved. Pygmalion begs the gods to give him a wife in the likeness to the statue. of the statue. The gods grant the request, and the statue comes to life. George Bernard Shaw adopted Pygmalion for the title of his play, and it turned into a film, My Fair Lady, where a poor cockney flower seller overhears an arrogant phonetics professor as he wagers that he could teach her to speak proper English. Okay? The work of Rosenthal, among others, shows that teacher expectations influence student performance. Positive expectations influence performance positively, and negative expectations influence performance negatively. Okay, so when we expect certain behaviors of others, we are likely to act in ways that make the expected behavior more likely to occur. Samantha Wiggins says that social development means improving interaction skills, respect for diversity, and encouraging pro-social behavior. And some ideas to work social skills. Of course, there are a lot of ICT tools for communication in our eTwinning projects. For example, I love Genially. Genially allows us to create presentations in a collaborative way. I'm going to write it. Genially, you know Genially? Okay. Or SMORE to create portfolios. My students create portfolios with SMORE. Or Story Jumper. In our last project with Serena, our students created a story, a creative writing about a girl who suffered from bullying. Okay, it was a very beautiful project. Or Voice Thread. I love Voice Thread too because it's a collaborative multimedia slideshow and people can leave comments in several ways, writing, voices, webcam. Another ICT tool I love is artsteps.com. Artsteps.com. This website is a nice way to create virtual art galleries, 3D galleries, 3D virtual galleries with photographs. Of course, use the chat, forums, and create events in TwinSpace, of course. So, in a nutshell, final consideration, okay? Some ideas according to Wiggins. Ask your students how they feel and create a positive environment for learning. Increase your students' emotional vocabulary. Give specific feedback and constructive criticism. Integrate activities to develop social skills. Challenge students to solve problems and develop an atmosphere of problem solving in the classroom. Expecting more from our students makes them expect more of themselves, of course. The Pygmalion effect, remember? And very, very important, smile, always smile, okay? And now, here's some bibliography I think is very useful. Bloom, Teaching Emotional Intelligence is a nice book. Morty Boyce allows teachers to reflect on their practice with teaching with emotional intelligence. And this book by Sapiro, I know that it's an old book from 2003, but it's an amazing book. I love it. In fact, it was the first book I read about emotional intelligence, and some of the activities I have used them in my classes. So it's really marvelous. I recommend it a lot. Sapiro, How to Raise a Child with High EQ, a Parent's Guide to Emotional Intelligence. And Saint Gill, 2015, Surviving in Education Through Emotional Intelligence and Positive Mindset. And these psychologists study emotional intelligence in sports, But in this book, there are several activities, very interesting activities for teachers. Okay, Stein and Howard, Emotional Intelligence and Your Success, and a short book, a very, very short book, but interesting, by Wiggins, Emotional Intelligence for Kids. Okay, yes, a short biography about the topic. Okay, and this is all I want to tell you. I hope you like it.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Maybe we can have some questions.
Thank you.
I know we are 4 minutes after
Mhm.
6, but after 6, sorry, after 7, but we may have 2 or 3 questions. You can write them on the chat, please.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for the great comments.
Thank
Do
you.
you have
Thank
any
you.
questions that you would like to ask Francisco?
So I think it's very important to think how our activities will, the activities we do in class, and think how your activities will make the students feel. It's very important this when we plan activities.
Okay, somebody was asking how it is possible to unlearn something.
Yes, when we talk about the constructive restructuring, if I learn that I am a bad pianist, I don't know how. I always have very bad performances. Okay, this is an idea, a thought that I have created. If I have created a thought, I can restructure it. So I can change it. So I can unlearn it. Okay, this is the idea.
Okay.
We can do it. Yes.
Trying to see. Somebody was asking, what do you do when you are upset?
When I'm upset with students, an exam. No, sometimes that occurs, but I have implemented eTwinning projects. I'm really a new eTwinner. 2 years working with eTwinning in my classroom, and I used to organize exams in a traditional way, but I have totally changed my way of teaching in the classroom. And I have noted a lot of differences in my students. For example, we have revised the content of my subject, emotional intelligence, last Wednesday with a Kahoot activity. So students are more motivated in general, and they participate more in the classroom. So for me,
What do you
I'm
think of
not
these
angry now
comments
with them.
coming from Yulia, sorry. It is very difficult to teach students in the territory where the war is going on. So the question is from Yulia. It
Sorry,
is
I
very
didn't understand.
difficult to teach students in the territory where the war
Mhm.
is going on. So I suppose that she's talking about adolescents, that they teenagers, that they are with the emotions, all over the place, and it's very difficult to teach them in this situation. I suppose it's like this.
Yes, yes, I suppose that too. It's difficult when there's war or problems in your territory to deal with emotions, of course. But I think teachers we can work in emotional restructuring, for example. Work if you want another seminar with practices about that.
Okay,
Organize
let's think about
one route
it.
in the future. Why not?
Okay, do we have more questions? Is there a group about emotional intelligence in schools? You mean in a training group, Maria?
Yes. Yes. There is a group of emotional
Hmm.
intelligence. I created that, I think, 2 years ago. In general, the language we use is Spanish, But I invite you to participate, and of course, we can use English too. And we put there activities, ideas about how to work emotional intelligence in the classroom. In fact, there is an interesting questionnaire for teachers, and they have to reflect on how they use emotional intelligence in the classroom. But that test is in Spanish, okay? But it's a very, very interesting activity. So I invite you to participate in that eTwinning group. The name is Desarrollar la inteligencia
Maybe you can
emocional en
write the
eTwinning,
name in the chat,
a través de eTwinning.
Francisco.
Yes, yes.
What about having the same in English? Well, let's think about it. So just
Yes,
to
yes.
reply to a few questions while Francisco is
How to develop how to develop emotional intelligence through eTwinning. In English, the name of the group, okay? But it's in Spanish, the name.
okay. So while he's typing, I think everybody is already typing. I would just like to remind you that yes, we are recording this session. The PowerPoint is already shared in the event information, so you just need to go to professional development, click on the event, and then files, and you will see the file of this presentation. We will send you a certificate as well of attendance, and the recording will be available very soon on the YouTube channel. If you don't have any questions, I would like to thank once more to Francisco for being here with us today. Thank you for proposing this great online seminar. I think it was very, very useful. And I agree with participants, it was very useful because it was also connecting the theory with practical things that they can use in a twinning project. So it was excellent. Thank you so much. I would like also to remind you that we
Thank
will
you very
have more online seminars. You just need to pay attention to the professional development page on eTwinning Live, and the next one will be on the 14th of December. So thank you all. It's great to see 186 people till 15 minutes after we were supposed to finish. It's great to see you here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time, and have a nice evening.